Welcome to the Nonprofit Podcast Network. Our purpose and passion are simple: to highlight the incredible nonprofits that make our communities stronger. Each episode is a chance for these organizations to tell their story in their words, sharing not just what they do, but why it matters to the people they serve, to their supporters, and to all of us who believe in the power of community. Through podcasting, we hope to amplify their voices, inspire connection, and give them one more tool to impact the hearts of donors, partners, and neighbors alike. This work is made possible through the generous support of our incredible partners: Cap Trust, offering fiduciary advice for endowments and foundations; Western Health Advantage, a local not-for-profit health plan that believes healthcare is more than coverage. It's about caring; CORE, executive leadership and comprehensive support services. They work in it so you can work on it. And Five Star Bank, a local, trusted advisor to community nonprofits for over 25 years. I'm on the American River Parkway 3, sometimes 4 or 5 days a week. Cycling, running, kayaking, watching the fog lift off the river in the early morning light. It's easy to take it for granted. 23 miles of paved trail, 4,800 acres of open space, wildlife, river access, and room to breathe. All just minutes from home. But here's the part I cannot fathom. Only about 10% of Sacramento County residents even know the Parkway exists as a connected resource. In this episode, I sit down with Dianna Poggetto, Executive Director of the American River Parkway Foundation, to talk about what it really takes to protect this civic treasure. We explore the 15,000 volunteer hours that keep it clean, the Title I students experiencing the river for the first time, the Afghan families gathering for weekend barbecues, and the reality that this beautiful space is also a working floodplain that can carry 88,000 cubic feet of water per second. This isn't just a trail, or a bike trail, or a running path. It's a unifier, an educator, a refuge. It's a living, breathing part of Sacramento's identity. If you're a Sacramento resident who walks, bikes, runs, or paddles, this episode is one for you. Dianna Poggetto, welcome to the Nonprofit Podcast Network.
Thank you. I'm excited.
So am I, and for a really good reason. I love this resource. I'm on it 3, 4, 5 times a week, and I'm so looking forward to this conversation. 23 miles of paved trail, 4,800 acres of nature, river, trails, wildlife, and so much more. Tell us about the organization known as the American River Parkway Foundation.
Well, if the American River Parkway did not exist, we would not exist. So it's really about how great the American River Parkway is and how fortunate we are to live in an area where we have this great resource. When you think about the greater Sacramento region, the Parkway is about 5 to 10 miles from everyone's home. And where can you go to have this respite? Right there. So what we do at the American River Parkway Foundation is really take care of that land. We put boots on the ground. We have over 15,000 volunteers a year that are out there working to remove invasive plants, to paint, ballast the right color of yellow, to repair picnic tables, to repair structures, to clear the trails. So we're the ones putting boots on the ground up and down the entire parkway, all 23 miles, all 4,800 acres, and trying to make it be the best place, the best civic amenity within this region that it can be.
And did I see someplace that really only about 10% of the population recognizes it's there?
Yes, we did a survey in 2018 to the general population of Sacramento County, which at that point was 1.6 million people. And of those that were polled, only 10% knew the parkway existed. What they did know was like if they had gone to Discovery Park, to a concert or something in Discovery Park, but they didn't know it connected to the other developed rec areas, which in a developed rec area would be where there's parking. So William Pond, the larger parks, the 11 larger parks along the parkway.
There's 11 parks along the parkway from Discovery Park up to Natomas?
So from Discovery Park, which is at the confluence of the I-5 and the river,
Right.
all the way to Hazel Avenue. So once you cross Hazel Avenue, that becomes state park land.
Right.
So the work we do is from Hazel Avenue west.
Okay, so Lake Natoma would be post.
That would be
past,
post. So
past the
that's
Hazel. So you're
yeah.
right up to it.
Yes.
Okay. And then that picks up and it's federal and state.
Yes.
Okay. And that's our Sacramento portion, which is still 23 miles. So it's a 46-mile jaunt if you start down at Discovery Park and take it up and back.
And what's interesting when you put it that way, there are so many Olympians that actually train on the parkway for that very fact, that they can run, they can cycle for 23 miles without a car interrupting them.
Mm-hmm.
And if you're if you're training for the Olympics, whether it's running or cycling, that's what you want.
Those are the people that are always smoking me on my bicycle. Now I understand. And there is a speed limit. We all know that, but in many cases
it is supposed to be 15 miles an hour.
Right, right. Aside from just going to the trail and cycling and walking and hiking and jogging and paddling, what are some of the programs that you offer? What does the Parkway Foundation actually provide to, let's say, the consumer, the person who uses the parkway?
So, I mean, what we are most famous for, I would say, just because we've done it since 1983, is our cleanups. So we have operated trash cleanups, debris removal, especially back in 2019, 2021, the number of unhoused that were on the parkway. That was a huge, huge undertaking where we were removing at least 150,000 pounds of trash, which is just, and to think that volunteers were doing this. I think that speaks a lot about the value of the parkway to the community. But our real emphasis right now is to bring people out to the parkway. How do we bring youth? How do we bring families out to the parkway so that percentage can grow from that 10% you talked about earlier to 50%?
Mm-hmm.
So we have a program called Parkway Connect. And what we're doing is we're working with a number of different nonprofits throughout the region, whether it's Sisters of Nia, United Cerebral Palsy, Single Mom Strong. But we're working with them and bringing them out to the parkway, to whether it's for painting, they want to learn how to fish, it's for nature. And for so many of these individuals and the families, they've never been to the parkway. So for them to experience it for that first time, it's like overwhelming to them. And they just want to see the butterflies and the water and the trees, which is great. And so that's a large program of ours. And then we have our volunteer programs, like I said. So some of them are rebuilding structures.
Mm-hmm.
So looking for key volunteers or types of volunteers to help with that. All the trails, if you're a runner and you're out on the multi-use trails, the dirt trails, we maintain all of those. So we cut them back and make sure that they're passable, and especially when it's high grass time, you're not going to step on a snake or something. So the trail work we're doing, the cleanups, we also remove all the invasive plants along the water's edge. So the brooms and the red suspenia, not a very exciting, just like in our own homes, we don't want to pull weeds. We're pulling the weeds on the parkway, and we have some restoration projects we're working on too.
Yeah, those plants that you just mentioned, I'm sure somebody knows, like Sacramento Splash or whatever, because they teach the kids about all that.
Yeah.
And the organizations you mentioned are people we've also had in the studio who share the same thing. These kids have never even been to the park. They've never seen the river. They're absolutely blown away when they see fish in a river, swimming and alive, and the ability to just see the nature. And as you mentioned, the butterflies and the birds and the sounds, and it really is. It's quite amazing.
It's what's interesting. We have run a program through Sacramento County Office of Education at the Riverbend site. It's a Riverbend Outdoor Education Center, and I will say I don't know if it's more surprising to see the kids come off the bus or the adult chaperones and how they respond. And there was a dead skunk carcass. And that was, I will tell you, that was like they were just stopped going. They had never seen one.
Yeah.
So, to see that change of a little bit afraid at first and then to actually enjoy being out in nature, it's a real transformation in 4 hours.
Something I've seen on occasion is you have the sheep mowing down the vegetation, and it's all fenced off and everything. Is that something that is the Parkway Foundation's responsibility? Is that something you do as well?
That is the Sacramento County. So the landowner
Okay.
of the parkway is Sacramento County, their regional parks department. And so the sheep or goats, depending on what they get, that is really to cut down on flash fuels. Because the parkway, as we know,
It
have
burns.
been a number of fires. And so in order to control some of the fire damage and the threat of fire.
Okay. Because that's an amazing sight, too.
Last year, they came off the transport hauler right in front of our office, and it was fascinating to watch and how the dogs, really were herding them out into the
Yes.
area. It was fantastic. It was a good 45 minutes we watched it.
I agree. It's just amazing. I'll pull over and stop and stare at it just because he's looking at it. Is this really happening? This is how we're mowing it down. And 2 weeks later, it's pristine. It is just amazing what happens there.
They eat away. They eat away.
Great for the kids to see that when they have the opportunity. You mentioned a couple of organizations, and I would imagine that happens quite often. Who are some of the nonprofit organizations, the other organizations that you deal with in conjunction with what you do on a day-to-day basis?
There's a lot of stakeholders on the parkway. So there's us as the Parkway Foundation. Soilborne has their area, Sacramento Valley Conservancy, and then FEI Nature Center. Those are the main stakeholders that actually have locations on the parkway. We are working with a number of different organizations from United Cerebral Palsy to Eschaton and River's Edge, because we really want to bring some of the seniors out to the
what
parkway.
A nice thought, too. Yeah, take them just to get them a break and experience nature.
And for so many of them, they grew up in the Sacramento region, or they lived in the Sacramento region, and they all participated in going to the parkway or going on the trails. So for them to come back out, it's really, really exciting to see. There's a number of organizations throughout. We're working with RETA, some of the refugee organizations, and we work with all the CASAs as well. So those are a little bit different on how we work with the CASA organizations because of the confidentiality. A lot of developmental disabled organizations, just to get them back out into nature and to help improve their mental health.
Well, in so many cases, too, especially if you're in a wheelchair, you have the ability, because you have a paved trail.
Yeah.
You can really walk them and let them experience something over some period of distance to little micro ecosystems of what's there, depending on where you are on the trail.
And, they've said, to see a butterfly or to actually be able to ride their bike. We did a big bike event with United Cerebral Palsy, and we did a lot of it in a parking lot, just because sometimes, as you said, people speed on the trail, that you've got people, first-time riders, you have to watch out where they're going and how fast. But it's always fascinating to me. And I think what's even more fascinating is when their families come out, because they get to see their child, their adult, I don't want to say normal, but being able to enjoy that sense of freedom again by riding a bike.
Yes.
And to be able to do it on the parkway and have the beauty around you, it's even better.
So volunteers, you said 15,000 volunteers?
15,000 hours, I will correct myself.
15,000 hours. Okay. I might have picked it up wrong, too. But still, that's a lot. And is that when I see the bins or the bags after they've done the cleanup and everything, that's coming from volunteers? And I know there's been, parkway excursions from other nonprofits where you go down and clean the water's edge and everything. Those are all coordinated through the foundation?
Yes. So we do 2 large cleanups a year. I mean, besides our normal cleanups through our mile stewards or through, volunteer groups, corporations that want to contribute. Our spring cleanup, which is in April of every year, and it's April 18th this year, we average about 800 individuals that come out between 9 and noon to clean, and we have 7 different locations this year. And then our large cleanup we do in conjunction with the California Coastal Commission, and that is the 3rd Saturday of September, and right now I don't know what that date is.
Every year?
Every year.
Yeah.
And we have over 2,000 individuals that come out, and it amazes me every year to see the number of people that come out, from 2-year-olds up to 90-year-olds, and it says to me how much they care about the parkway. Because I think personally, would I spend my Saturday morning going out to clean up trash on the parkway? And these individuals do, year after year after year.
Yeah, I've got to make a commitment to do that as well because I use it so much. It's one of the ways I can give it back, and
And a
that's
lot of
important.
corporations participate in these too because it's a great team building.
Hmm.
And then it's a game of, oh, I found this or you found that, and it's also a challenge. And, we all like competition. So this is where it's good for
Yeah.
the different businesses to participate.
Tell me about funding for the organization. How is it funded?
So we receive $16,000 a year from Sacramento County, and that's for their transit occupancy tax. And that is through their board appropriated transit occupancy tax. And we raise $1.2 million a year. And so we raise those funds through one-on-one solicitation, through our membership, through our special events, as well as through grant funding. So every year we know we start with $16,000 and go from there.
Is there one event that is the biggest fundraiser for the organization?
Our largest fundraiser is our event called Summer Solstice, and that is held in June 20th. It could either be the hottest day of the year, or it could be a beautiful day like it was in 2025. And everyone wears white, and it is a farm-to-table family-style meal. There are silent auctions, live auctions. It's a great time because you can wear, as a male, you can wear shorts and flip-flops. And as a female, you can wear, shorts or a sundress, but you don't have to get extremely dressed up.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a beautiful evening. And that event raises between $180,000 and $200,000 for the foundation.
Yeah, that's a significant event.
Yes.
How many people How many people can you accommodate? I mean, imagine
260.
whatever. Okay.
Only it's a very small.
Okay, so it's
intimate.
limited.
It's limited.
Okay.
We have one chef that prepares the whole meal out there at the park. And then a National Charity League helps us, and they are our servers for the night, the moms and daughters, and they serve, and we have volunteers that help with check-in and check-out. But it's a beautiful evening under the stars, and you get to sit, and it's long tables, and it's great for networking, and we have a longer cocktail hour because everyone wants to chit-chat.
Sure.
Which is what it's about, and hopefully bid on those silent auction
Right,
items.
right.
So people like coming to the event because it is a small and intimate event.
And you are outside.
You're outside.
You're taking in everything that the Parkway Foundation stands for.
It is beautiful. And then this year we're doing a second year event. We started it last year, and it's our burger battle. It's called the American River Burger Battle, and that takes place at Discovery Park. And this year we have 8 chefs in both Sac City and Sac Metro Fire, and they all compete for the best burger. So there's a judge's choice, and then there's the people's choice. And so last year the judge's choice was Sam Schaefer with Kimpton Sawyer, and then the people's choice was Pedro with 7th Street Standard.
Okay.
So and there is some competition there for bragging rights. So that is May 16th this year.
And who doesn't love a good burger?
And you can have unlimited burgers. So if you can eat all 10 burgers, more power to you.
So in 2026, it's May 16th. It is always in May, that event?
It's always in May.
Okay, great.
Yeah.
Love that.
Yeah.
And now I'm seeing cattle grazing on the side.
Yeah.
Just the side of the trail, right?
No cattle. That would be a good sight, though.
Right? People wonder what the heck just happened here.
That would be fun.
Funding no object. Let's say you have a nature lover. He, her, them, they come and they say, Dianna, we love this trail. We want to give you a blank check. What would you do with it?
I would say there's 3 things we could do. And it kind of ties into the foundation just going through this whole strategic plan. And we had this big blue sky, funding no object, just like you said. One of them would be there was a private inn holding down in the Natomas area, and it was the Urrutia old mine. Sacramento Area Flood Control has purchased that site. To me, it would be phenomenal to create it almost as a Swan Lake, and like they have in Golden Gate Park, have little paddle boats out there and really open up the parkway to the Natomas region and be able to have that interaction where people from that community can just walk over to have that. It's a different site. It's a reason to come to the parkway. I would say the other would be able to create some sort of small amphitheater or small venue where you could do plays, you could have people, because here again, we do summer solstice on a beautiful evening night. Who wouldn't want to go see, Romeo and Juliet in a small amphitheater on the Parkway?
Mm-hmm.
Similar to like, Sand Harbor, how they have
Yep.
have the concerts. To be able to have something like that. And I would say the ultimate would be continued funding for the Parkway, whether that's a third party that manages it or just some sort of partnership agreement to have continued funding. So as the budget cycles change, the Parkway always has some funding.
Is there any sort of endowment sitting out there for the foundation?
We have reserves. We don't have an endowment just because of how much we would be able to spend,
Mm-hmm.
but we have reserves, and some of those reserves will be going into some of our reserves will be going into some of the program that we have coming up. I look at the Parkway, and you look at great parks across the United States.
Right.
And, from Central Park, which is only 10 acres, and everyone knows about it, to the Austin Parks, to even Golden Gate Park, what do they all have? They have this sense of place. And to me, the Parkway is more than just a sense of place. It's a sense of space. And I say that because we need to have activities that will generate people coming to the Parkway as well as appreciating it. And if they just think it's a place that people, ride their bikes or they run, which is phenomenal.
Right.
But there needs to be a little bit more because we want it to be the great civic amenity within this region.
Back to reality. What is the greatest need?
I would say the greatest need, I mean, of course, you can always say the greatest need is funding, but I would say the greatest need is for the community to speak up about how important the Parkway is and what they want to see on the Parkway and how the Parkway can evolve and change with the communities and as our population grows. So really taking a stake within the Parkway and ensuring that it's here for future generations.
Mm-hmm. We'll be back with more from Dianna Poggetto as we explore the American River Parkway Foundation and the value it brings to our region, right after we hear from those businesses who care deeply and support this work.
I'm James Beckwith, President and CEO of Five Star Bank. We're dedicated to supporting nonprofit organizations who advocate for the strength, resilience, and vitality of those they serve. When nonprofit organizations thrive, our community does too. By supporting the Nonprofit Podcast Network, Five Star Bank is amplifying the voices and meaningful impact of our nonprofit community. We're Five Star Bank, a trusted nonprofit partner. How can we help you?
We are really excited to be part of the family and contribute to the work that you all are doing. CORE provides fractional and interim executive services, along with comprehensive back office solutions that go into our client sites and do the work to give them the capacity they need in order to move through transitions, whether that's planned or unplanned. Or companies also work with our accounting and finance, back office solutions, human resources, technology, and administration. The reason why our back office solutions add value is because we save them time and money, anywhere from 20 to 30% of what they would spend on that back office solution. We work in it so they can actually work on it. CXORE.com and contact me directly at DTEAT@CXORE.com.
If you're interested in learning more about how CORE may help your organization, visit CXORE.com.
Hello, this is Scott Thomas with Cap Trust in our Sacramento office. I specialize in working with local nonprofits and associations. Annually, we survey private and public nonprofit organizations across the country to better understand challenges they see in today's environment. In our more recent survey, we heard concerns about proper board governance, mission-aligned investment, and how to implement alternative investments. If you would like a copy of the survey or to discuss your organization, look me up, Scott Thomas at captrust.com.
I'm thrilled to have Western Health Advantage partnering with us as they do so much to support so many nonprofit agencies in our community. As a truly local health plan, you'll find individual and family options, employer options, plans for CalPERS and Medicare Advantage. From medical services to pharmacy, health and wellness support, as well as behavioral health care, Western Health Advantage has a plan that fits what you need. As an employer, for profit or nonprofit business, individual or family, you can find more at westernhealth.com. When you look at the community, you're out in the community, how do you tell the story?
The story is always evolving, and it depends who the audience is, right?
Yeah.
And so how do people interplay with the parkway? Do they just drive over the river, over a bridge, or do they actually enjoy it? To me, the parkway also unites all of the communities that it runs through. You know, it runs from Sacramento to the unincorporated portions of the county to Rancho Cordova to Folsom. How does that unite our community? And I think that's the story, because it is a uniter. Whether, you know, you're out there 3 to 4 days a week, you meet people out there.
Mm-hmm.
But they might not be cycling, they might be riding, or they might be a first timer. So how can we tell those stories about why people find it special? You know, is it because you love fishing, or is it because you're just looking to do yoga? And so I think that's how you tell the story of how important it is. You know, you think about other great cities that have waterways and they've developed them. That can't happen on the parkway because of this piece of legislation that governs it called the Parkway Plan. So you can't build condos or buildings
sure.
on it, but you can still create that sense of space.
Put some faces on the parkway for me. Who do you see? What do you see? What do they look like? What are some of the stories you hear back?
The parkway, I would say, is the melting pot of Sacramento. Sacramento is one of the most diversified communities, and I think the parkway reflects that. Whether it's the family that's learning how to ride a bike that's out there, or what is amazing, if you go to certain sections of the parkway on a weekend, the number of Afghan families having large barbecues. So they're celebrating togetherness through family, through barbecue, through food. You have the cyclists that think they might be Lance Armstrong or training for the Olympics.
Why are you pointing at me?
Yeah, I'm just saying. There's, and then you have the runners. You have those that are learning. You have the groups like Sacramento, SacFit, that are teaching people how to run and to walk. You have Fleet Feet, that's a more advanced training. So you have this wide array of individuals. You also have individuals that use the parkway as their canvas. You have phenomenal photographers that are selling their photos of the parkway, phenomenal painters that are painting the parkway. So it depends how people use it, as well as nature lovers. If you want to go out and see deer, coyote, being able to just experience being outdoors, there's so many different faces. And I think we see, our office is actually on the parkway. So we're at the entrance to William Pond Park. So we see everybody go by, whether it's an individual, the groups like bike hikers or, an organized ride, but just the individual that's driving in to go have lunch.
Mm-hmm.
So it's nice to see it being utilized in so many different ways.
When you mentioned artists, we have a very famous one. Gregory Kondos has done many pieces of the parkway and or the river off of the parkway. So many just beautiful, beautiful settings at various times of the day, and they differ every time during the year. And nothing is ever the same to me when I'm on it. It's always different. The sky is different, the light is different, the people are different, the trail is different. The only thing that's the same is that piece of pavement that goes from point A to point B.
And there's nothing more magical if you get out in the morning and you see the fog just
Right.
rising above the water, and just it's like this mystical event, and especially as it goes through the trees. So it is a gorgeous, gorgeous 4,800 acres to be able to visit, and to visit that you can walk into. So many people are able to walk in from their homes.
Free,
to
Dianna.
access.
It's free.
It's free.
That's the beauty of this, right?
Yeah, it's free. And it's for all of us.
And the other thing that it's not a part of, but it's certainly influenced by, is the water itself. While the parkway doesn't control the water flow, but the water flow is different every single day, as it's determined on the release from Folsom Lake into Lake Natoma into the river. And I'm always amazed at it. I had done EPIs for a long, long time, many, many years. And, at that period of time in the year from summer when you're starting to training, let's say from about April till July, every day you're looking at the river. Okay, flow is good. I'm going to get in the river today because I have to practice my paddling. And you just look at it and you become almost obsessed with what the river flow looks like on any given day.
It is amazing when you see. It was funny. I had a memory that just popped up on my phone yesterday from 9 years ago. And that was when we had 88,000 CFS flowing through. It was the heavy, heavy, heavy storm.
Yep.
88,000 CFS flowing through the American River. The entire parkway was pretty much
and
closed
CFS
down.
is cubic feet per second of water, so people understand.
And that is a lot of water. And the parkway was closed because 95% of it was flooded. And for people that don't know, the parkway is first and foremost a flood conveyance zone. So it is meant to flood, and it's closes for everyone's safety. And you can't go on the bike trail or go into the parks because it's flooded. And of course, down in the Discovery Park area, you get the pushback from the Sacramento River also. But 9 years ago was when logs were going so fast down that it was taking power poles down within the parkway. And SMUD, PG&E, and Western Area Power all have power poles on the parkway. And they were actually doing helicopter exercises to actually erect new poles. It was amazing to see it, and just the artistry in making sure that no one's electrocuted and how you put those down. But here's another use of the parkway.
Yes.
The easements that go across the parkway from the utility companies as well as the UP lines, the Union Pacific Railroad lines.
Right. And anybody that's been here long enough recognizes that river flow is very different, especially in very, very wet times. And to your point, I remember that year, it took out a piece of the Sunrise footbridge. I mean, just so much was coming down. It was over the footbridge, which is a rare, rare, rare occasion to see it that high. But it's amazing to see just the power of nature, which is the American River Parkway Foundation. Yeah. It's that whole experience. As the executive director of an organization that is nature, and many people, their solace is nature. I want to get out to nature. You're in nature every day. You're managing nature. There aren't a whole lot of people that get to do that. What do you do to relax? How does Dianna Poggetto chill? What's her thing?
Don't ask my kids. And they're adults and growing. For me, it's travel.
Okay.
It is travel. I love to travel. I've been fortunate to travel the world with one of my adult sons who is a competitive water skier. So it's been great to be able to travel, and I have this itch to continue to travel. But even more simple, I think it's, to me, to be home and have it quiet, and to cook or to garden. And I have 2 big dogs, so we're always out walking and being around or going up to Tahoe and just relaxing and being with friends. But travel's my bug, and for some of us, we have to keep working so we can continue to travel.
Correct. Well, I bet you one of the challenges is when you're traveling, it's hard not to compare. Oh, this is like. It's hard, right?
But you know what? I learned so much from traveling, because you see how other cities in other parts of the world, what do they do? How are they attracting people? What are their green spaces like? And so I actually find it fascinating. So, maybe I should use some of the travel for business, expenses. I don't know.
Right. Yeah, because you're absorbing and you're bringing things back and ideas. Hey, look what I saw in Italy or in France or wherever you might have been.
Yeah.
I'm
sure.
And
it's fascinating to see how various parts of the world, whether you're in Asia or even in Australia, how they work with nature. And I say nature because whether that's their coral reefs or it's their parks, it's really fascinating to see how so many countries are able to do so much with less dollars. And I think it's kind of a a paradigm shift that the U.S. is going to be going through
Mm-hmm.
coming in the near future of there's just not as many dollars out there to do the work we want to do around the environment. So how do we do more with less? And
Yeah.
I think that's the beauty, though, of also the Parkway and of those that care about it. We can do more with less because we have volunteers and we have a community that really cares.
And I believe that keyword community, it so much of that community it isn't necessarily just the cyclists or the runners or the exercisers. It's everybody that gets the advantage of what that parkway represents. And to your point, people who have never been here before and they take them down to the parkway, they're blown away, and they tell that story. I mean, we got to get 15, 20% of this population in the region to understand that thing exists, because I think once they do, they'll contribute to it in some way, shape, or form for its benefit.
Yeah, and I think, an overall marketing branding campaign of the Parkway is something that, as the Parkway Foundation, we know is needed. And it is one of our objectives we're going to be working on in 2026 and 2027 to one, increase that number, but to bring people to the Parkway, whether that's, we want to have wide open walls out there or chalk it up out
Sure.
there. It's a different reason to bring individuals to the Parkway so they can appreciate and enjoy it.
Well, and to your point about that recognition, that's demonstrable impact for your campaign.
Yeah.
You gauge that recognition today. If it's 10%, you do your campaign. 2 years later, it's 14, 15, 16%, 18%. And that's part of what we're trying to do too, is to help these organizations, not unlike yours, to be seen and heard. You've got great stories. We know you're out there, but you can tell them into a void and nothing's going to happen.
Right.
And so the beauty of that is that you've got the ability to do it. And I think you mentioned you're working on a campaign now, right? A video campaign?
Yeah, we have a video campaign. We receive grant funding from the Sacramento Cable Commission, and that is for 4 28-minute shows. And the first one is live, and that's on the American River Parkway Foundation's YouTube channel. The second one will be aired on Metro Channel 14, which everyone I know watches. And then once it's aired on there, it'll go to our YouTube channel. And then the last two are going to be produced by the end of March of 2026.
Okay.
So those will be out there. The first one is really fascinating because it talks about the history of the Parkway. How was it created? What did Sacramento really look like back in the 1930s and 40s? And, the Chinese camps that were down where the Discovery Park area is. So it's really a fascinating video. And everyone that's watched it is like, oh, I've learned so much in this. And then the second, third, and fourth are going to talk more about the Parkway's programs and who they're impacting video. And so they're fun. And there's a good clip on Burger Battle in two. So watch Metro Channel 14.
Wonderful. I love that.
Yeah, it's fun.
What's the best way for somebody to find out about the Parkway?
The best way, the easiest way, is to log on to our website at arpf.org. That has information. We have a YouTube channel, which is the American River Parkway Foundation. We also have, Facebook, Instagram. We do have a TikTok and LinkedIn. And so our channels are all open, always information going out there.
Okay, and we'll have that in the show notes as well. So it makes it easy for somebody who's listening to say, I don't have to think about anything. I'll just click here.
And we also have a new Burger Battle, just separate page on Instagram, AR Burger Battle. I think that's what it is. Yeah.
We'll find
it's
we'll
all
find the link.
about marketing, right?
Right. It is. Hey, we got to get that 10% lifted.
We needed to get to 20.
So almost 14 years you've been with the organization. What would you say to Dianna's original self when you came on to today that you might do differently, that you've seen over the course of that 14 years and said, boy, if maybe then I would have done that, if you knew then what you know now?
I think it's about the community. Not understanding how important the resource was to the community when I started. And as I said, the population has grown also. I would say engaging with various aspects of the community, not just those that use it for recreation, but really working with the different cities and the communities and bringing them all into the fold. I believe our work at the foundation would be I don't want to say easier, but we'd have a greater representation and people would know about it. I would say one of the best things we probably did was start our Riverbend Outdoor Education Program, working with Sacramento County Office of Education. And we are bringing Title I children out to the Parkway for the first time. And before I got involved with SCOE, I had no idea that 68% of all Sacramento County schools are Title I. I had no idea.
Nor did I.
68%. So being able to bring one child out to the Parkway, 2 children, 66 come out at a time, to expose it to them, that's how we're going to continue. We have to be able to expose and get children off their phones, tablets, and get them out into nature for them to appreciate it. So to me, that was probably the best in working more around the youth arena to really, and with families, I think really helps us bridge those generational gaps.
Mm-hmm. And to your point, once the children understand it's there, their children will understand. Now you've got this legacy of awareness that didn't exist. And that 10% should just organically grow because of the awareness of what's there. And the wonder that those children experience every time, I can only imagine what they bring home to the parents that maybe have never been as they try to explain what they saw.
Yeah. And it's for anybody and everybody. Like, you've mentioned fishing and the recreational, but we do an event with Sacramento Public Library, and it's called Silent Reading.
Mm-hmm.
And we hold it out on the Parkway. There's like 40 individuals there for 2 hours of silent reading. But they're reading with other people. So we use it differently. Everyone uses the Parkway differently. And I think that's the beauty. It's free and you can use it however you want.
Right.
Except burning it down.
Right. Don't do that.
Don't do that. Don't do that.
Well, as we close, I have a very special place, in my heart for this trail. And we've always lived around it since we've been in Sacramento a little over 40 years now. And my first orientation to it has never separated. It was like, I've got to always be around this trail because I love to cycle and run and paddle. And then this great race that this guy held, this epi, kind of brought me in. And to your point of community, you'd see the same people every year. We'd all be out there training, and we all got to know each other. And then we'd be on the river, and then, again, community. And to this day, 40 years later, we will still see each other. We look very different. And the people that I would look at who were the little bit older people on the trail or in the event and be like, oh my gosh, we've all aged. We're all still out there.
It's one big Parkway family.
And that's exactly what it is.
And we have our office volunteers that come in and they've met each other and they just say, it's like a family. We are treated like family. And I think that's what makes it special.
Right. Well, to you, to your team, for what you do to maintain this gem, this piece of Sacramento that so much is what's the word I want to use? It's underestimated for sure, but it's not as well known as it needs to be. This message has to get out. We need people to really experience it, to understand what it's all about. And that's what you do, and you maintain it so that it's a beautiful place for all of us to experience. And I know it's not you, it's you, your team, and all the volunteers, but for what you do for us and the ability to enjoy that incredible experience, thank you.
Oh, thank you. It's, you know what? If you haven't gone out to the Parkway, go. You can enter along 23 miles. Go out and enjoy it and experience it for yourself.
Dianna, wonderful conversation. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you for listening to the Nonprofit Podcast Network. We hope today's episode inspired you and gave you a deeper look into the work of our local nonprofits. If you believe in our mission to amplify their voices, please take a moment to leave us a positive review and share this episode with a friend. It helps more people discover the incredible work happening in our community. And don't miss future episodes. Subscribe to our weekly updates and monthly newsletter at nonprofpod.com. And if you're part of a nonprofit that would like to be featured, we'd love to hear from you. Just visit the Guests tab on our website. The Nonprofit Podcast Network is recorded and produced at Hear Me Now Studio with generous support from our outstanding partners. CapTrust, fiduciary advice for endowments and foundations, online at captrust.com. Western Health Advantage, local care with community impact. Find the plan that fits at westernhealth.com. CORE, executive leadership and comprehensive support services. Visit cxore.com. And 5 Star Bank, a local trusted advisor to community nonprofits for over 25 years. 5starbank.com.